Tell me about this translating books with AI.
Yeah, we're calling it Alexandria. The basic idea is that if you look at every society, we've benefited since the days of Alexandria, the Egyptian library, from large-scale access to human knowledge and books. And so we're taking 1,000 of the most important books that are off of copyright, and we're translating them, working in concert with OpenAI and Anthropic and 11 Labs and a few other folks on creating a version of the book in every language, audiobooks in every language, so anybody in the world can stream it, they can download it, they can interact with it. We've actually built a book reader, and so we'll be doing a launch for that in the next few months. But that's been incredibly rewarding, and we've actually done machine versus human eval, where people check, do they like more what we've done with translation or what human translators have done?
Hmm.
And people prefer the machine translated works by far. And so that's been a really interesting and an unexpected
What do you attribute
outcome
that
of
to?
this.
What do you attribute it to?
I think it is often more modern language, although you can obviously tune that based on your
Hmm.
prompts. And then I think often it's more concise and often it's more consistent. You have better QA, especially if you're thinking about a long
Hmm.
work or corpus. You can enforce certain things that a human translator may or may not be able to do.
Fascinating. It
I
is.
want to know how long until you add a zero to that and then another zero. When is it 10,000? When is it 100? And what's stopping you from going to like a million? There's a lot of books out of copyright, a lot.
Yeah, I think we decided to start with the things that we thought were books that often should exist in other languages that just have never been translated. Because if you
Ah,
look at it, there's maybe 2 dozen languages that cover 80% of humanity.
yeah.
And for even some of the greatest works ever produced, or at least the consensus from academics is these are the greatest works ever produced, there just aren't copies in all sorts of languages. 20,
Hmm.
30, 40% of humanity can't access them. So we just thought, let's start with the stuff that's kind of obvious. I think to your point, you could do, we have the infrastructure built now. So you could run an arbitrary book through. And if you really wanted to, you could turn this into a service where anybody should be able to upload any book and then basically have this output in terms of every language, every audiobook. We've also been looking at building AI guides to the book so you can start interacting with it, asking questions, et cetera. So I think it's almost like this modern Library of Alexandria, right? We want to bring humanity's knowledge to the world in an accessible way. So
Hmm.
it's been fun.
So you also gone down like the bit tensor and distributed computing as related to AI and LLMs rabbit hole?
Yeah, I've looked at it a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's your conclusion on it?
I don't have one, but I made a small investment in a hedge fund that's looking at all the nodes of BitTensor every day, trying to figure out the different projects, buying, the tokens, et cetera. And it feels to me like now that we're in the sort of Sachs era of crypto regulation, I feel more comfortable spending a little time there. And I've always felt like distributed computing and would be a viable coexister to cloud computing
Hmm.
for certain jobs. And we'll move from that SETI at home kind
Mm.
of, I don't want to say silliness, but hobbyist, toy
Hmm.
to something more meaningful. And perhaps at some point, even if we're building out too much infrastructure, it could be like Bitcoin, and that people will start putting up infrastructure and know they'll make a high return on it. And you could get some, you know, I don't know, scale that
Hmm.
was not previously considered realistic in the same way Bitcoin and the
Hmm.
number of, people participating and the number of nodes would be hard
Hmm.
to comprehend 10 or 15 years ago, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting question because I think in the case of anything that has strong economic viability, compute tends to collapse into centralization. And so, for example, to your point on Bitcoining, I think it's like the six or seven largest mining pools are over 50% of Bitcoin volume.
Yeah.
And so that's centralization in terms of buying of hardware, in terms of energy and negotiation for that. And so anytime you have something with a huge economic output, it seems to almost always centralize because of those economies of scale.
Mm.
And then to your point, there's all sorts of circumstances where you have more distribution, either because it's people who are just, generating an extra Bitcoin every once in a while because they have some idle capacity, but on a volume basis, that's pretty low. Or it could be things like SETI at home, which is more philanthropic, or very early Bitcoin mining or crypto mining, where there isn't that same liquidity in terms of mining of the token. So it's a really interesting question of when do you transition from decentralized to centralized, and
If you want your business to succeed online, it has to stand out, and that's why you need a beautiful, world-class website. The good news is you don't have to hire an expensive designer anymore, nor do you need a bunch of developers. No, Squarespace has all the tools you need to claim your domain and start building your company. Hey, maybe you got a product to sell. Maybe you want to show off some samples of your work. Maybe you've got a new service you're providing. Well, Squarespace is the all-in-one tool you need for your business to grow and flourish. And they offer beautiful templates. Maybe you want to start an online course, or you're scheduling appointments for people. Maybe you're generating client invoices. All of that is built into the product. Everything you create with Squarespace is pre-optimized to show up in search engines as well. So you don't need to hire some expensive SEO person. Nope. They're building your meta descriptions, they're setting you up with an auto-generated sitemap, and the SEO is done before you even get started. Plus, there's a new AI-powered feature. It's called Blueprint, which makes it easier than ever before to customize your website and make it really pop. So check out squarespace.com/twist for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/twist to get 10% off your first website or domain purchase. That's squarespace.com/twist.